Many of us grow up with this detrimental mindset that motivation is something that hits us, that happens to us. Then we get motivation and we either have it or we don't have it. And this is a misconception that really hurts a lot of us creatives, and it holds us back. And it also installs this limiting, helpless mindset that we are at the whim of our feelings, of the day, of whatever ideas are coming to us, and that we are not the creators that are being creative, that we are not motivating ourselves, and we are motivated or we are not motivated. So in this video, I want to talk about 3 of the limiting beliefs that most of us have, that I have helped myself overcome in order to create consistently. I have over 1,000 videos on YouTube and a bunch that are not on YouTube and in other courses. And I also have my own other side projects and books and things like that. And the reason why these came about is because I've dealt with these limiting beliefs. So let's unpack these 3 limiting beliefs in this video so that you can stop being held back and you can actually make more progress on the important things and goals and stories and ideas in your life. The first core limiting belief is that I need to feel motivated in order to start working on my goals. Many believe that motivation is a prerequisite for us to feel like we are able to approach our goals, for us to feel like we can start working on them. And as INFPs, that is a big thing because our introverted feeling, our dominant function, feels a lot. And we need to feel aligned with our actions, with our beliefs. And until that alignment is there, we often feel like we cannot make progress. We can't do anything. We need to keep thinking or feeling or sifting through it and in order to understand it first so that we can approach it with full alignment, full intrapersonal harmony with all of our parts coexisting and working together. Do you often say like, I'm not in the mood for this right now. I'm just not feeling it right now. Well, many of us think that we need to feel inspired in order to do it, right? But once I found is that once you start making progress on something, then you start to build motivation in order to continue it. Motivation often comes before, but it also comes after starting. Once you do it, you start getting more ideas. You're extroverted, intuiting, you're explorers. Like, oh, hey, what about this? This could be fun. And you start playing with it. Then you start to lean into it more. And it's easier and easier to create. So one small thing that you can do is to do a small thing. And oftentimes we have this huge, big idea, and it feels like this massive dragon that we cannot tame or slay or whatever your metaphor is with dragons. And it just feels too big. But once you break it down, smaller and smaller, mini quests, mini actions, mini steps that you need to take, or that you can take in order to make progress on your goals, then it becomes a lot easier. It's a matter of chunking down, breaking the thing down into smaller and smaller pieces so that it doesn't feel daunting, so that it feels easier to do, or so that it's inevitable that you do it. With my daughter, we were teaching her piano. Well, I'm not teaching her piano because I'm horrible at it. She's going to piano class. So we bought a keyboard, okay, a nice big piano keyboard thing. For a while, it was in a different room, and she would never play it. But once we put it in front of her, like we put it in the living room, it's in a place where it's always ready, it's always there. It's easy for her to just kind of walk up and sit down and play a song. Or if we're listening to something on Spotify or wherever, she can hear it and she's like, oh, I can play that. And she just walks over and starts playing it because it's become so easy for her to access it. She doesn't need to open it up and take it out and get ready for it. Like I have a Sanshin over there and it's in a box. It's in a case and I have to undo the levers. I have to open it up. I have to take off the Velcro and then take it out in order to play this, which is one of the reasons why I almost never play it. It's a very fun, cool instrument. I like to play it when I do, but it's just not in a place that's easy to access. So if you want to motivate yourself, make it easier to access the thing. Like if I just had it here at all times, then I would probably play it more. So remember that action breeds, it creates motivation, and not the other way around. If you don't take action on it, you are stagnant. You are not making movement, making progress, and it's not going to do anything. An object in motion stays in motion. An object at rest stays at rest. So you got to start a little bit, just get a little bit of action in there, yeah? And it will make it all easier. Limiting belief number 2 is I work better under pressure. And it's a common misconception that once the pressure's on, our masterpieces will come out, the best things happen. And as an INFP, we are perceivers, okay? So roughly what that equates to is in goal setting, we get this big boost of energy, we get excited about something, we want to play around with it, experiment with it, make tons of progress in a short amount of time, and then we go look somewhere else. We get distracted. We've finalized the completion of the thing in our minds already. We've imagined it. And that's where the fun stuff is. Doing the tangible, actual, practical elements of it, the actions, is the hard stuff. And we don't really care for that. And then we wait, we delay, we procrastinate until we have a deadline. And once that deadline is close, then we get this big boost of energy again, and it feels kind of good, and we get creative, and we find a way of making it happen and finalizing it. That works, but that's not necessarily the best way of approaching it. And I'm sure you know that too. What you can do is to break it down even into smaller timeline goals. Okay? If you have something that's, you got to finish it within, registering my son. Like he was born in Japan, and I didn't report it to the the embassy, the US embassy. And it's been almost a year, and I'm like, I really got to do that because I have a year. And in the past day, 2 days, 3 days, I've made tons of progress doing all this paperwork and stuff. But it didn't need to wait that long. I could have done it within a month. Probably should have done it within a month. But the time taken to complete the task will fill the amount of time we've given to it. So if I broke it down 6 months, then I would get it done in 6 months if I made sure that I set that as a core, clear deadline for myself. Or 3 months, 2 months, could have done it. And so with all of these things, you can create more pressure if you feel that that is what's motivating to you. You can create more pressure by shortening the timeline of your goals. But what usually happens is it leads to stress and anxiety and likely lower quality outcomes. I definitely know that chronic procrastinators are going to have more stress, higher levels of stress, more anxiety, probably health problems that come from those as well, because they keep putting things off, distracting themselves, and they have this underlying leaking of focus and energy. And that doesn't help you focus on what is important to you. It's just constantly like, oh, I got to do that thing. I got to do that thing. And it's this underlying stress in all domains of life. So getting it done sooner, using time blocking, breaking it down, even if you're not going to 100% complete it by then, you can get parts of it done. And then you can still let those percolate in the background if that's helpful for you, if you still want to think about it more, or you can just get it done and move on with your life. So ask yourself, wouldn't it be better if I finished early or made a lot of progress on it and then had time for revisions rather than rushing to complete this whole thing within the last day? Peace of mind will come from having quality work done, work that feels good to you, work that feels like you've done the right thing. And a lot of times we are afraid of doing something and then having it not up to the level of quality that we want it to be at. So if we wait until the end and then we rush through it, I was so busy, I just finished this in a day, this is the quality that we get. That's really shortchanging yourself, and it's creating a habit of producing things that are not necessarily aligned with who you are and who you want to become. The next limiting belief is that if I can't do it perfectly, then there's no point in doing it at all. And perfectionism is a big topic that comes up for INFPs, and it is definitely the enemy of progress. If we constantly think that it needs to be perfect in order for us to even attempt it, then we're never going to make progress. I know zero people who have been perfect at something the first time that they did it. I remember when I first moved to Japan and I was learning Japanese for the first time in 2003 when I was 18. I knew nothing about Japan except for the one little class that I took to prepare me to go to Japan. I couldn't even count to 10. I was quite freaked out. I loved Spanish. I took 3 years of Spanish, but I was like, there's no way I can learn Japanese. And my two friends that I made within that program that I went with, an ENFP and an ESTJ, both of them extroverts, willing to make mistakes, willing to trip over the stones, and willing to just try and to communicate. They made so much more progress than I did within that year because they could speak, because they did speak. They were not perfect. I wasn't perfect either. Maybe grammatically, I would understand better, and my pronunciation was actually pretty good. I guess I can thank my INFP brain wiring for that, really listening to tone and focusing on verbal tonal accuracy. But I could not speak, and I did not speak. And they were definitely better at actually communicating to people because they weren't worried about making it perfect. They were worried about making progress, about learning along the way, about communicating. They had their focus on the external stuff instead of the internal stuff. And this all or nothing thinking leads to missed opportunities. It leads to not feeling complete and satisfied with what we are doing. It took me another couple years until somebody kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone by guilting me to talk to people. I was working at the World Expo in 2005. There was like 140 different countries, pavilions there, and I was an entertainer. I was a U.S. ambassador of sorts, and I was doing speeches to Japanese people. And my job was to do speeches to Japanese people. Eventually, it became 300 people at a time, every 10 minutes, doing speeches, entertaining them in English and Japanese. And up until the point that somebody pushed me out of my comfort zone, I was only talking to one person at a time. Just kind of going over here and, hey, how you doing? Okay. Just driving around on my Segway, having fun, but not really like doing my job. And she said, this is your job. You should get better at it. You should do this. And I was like, okay, I'll begin. I'll do it. And I was not perfect. Of course, how could I be? But it actually became really fun. And it became motivating and something that I loved to do. And it became an underlying piece of YouTube videos, of my other jobs and careers that I had after that, was to entertain people, and something that actually became really fun for me, that I would not have known if I continued to hold myself back, thinking that if I don't do it perfectly, then there's no point in doing it at all. And one core mindset with this is failing forward, of complicated successes, of, okay, maybe I didn't fully achieve my goal, but I did make progress. And with any attempt that you do, you're likely going to be able to say that. You can find some way to wrap that experience, even if it's a failure, with gratitude and appreciate it, because there's a lesson within that. I could have said it this way. I should have said it this way. I could have done this. I should have done that. Maybe if I did it faster. Maybe I needed to slow down a little bit. Maybe I wasn't in the right state or mindset. These are all learnings that you can use and carry forward into your next experiences. And so you are making progress, no matter what. To be honest, it'll probably never be perfect. So you might as well just enjoy the process and, fail gloriously and learn from it, and learn that you are more resilient, you're more capable, and you can cope and acclimate way more than you think. And that stretches you outside of your comfort zone, and that tears down those limiting beliefs. So now that we've addressed these 3 limiting beliefs, remember that you have the power to change your mindset. Anything that is holding you back is likely something that you are thinking in a way that is stuck, a fixed mindset around it. So adopt different perspectives. What would Tony Stark say? What would a panda poet advise you to do? What would your heroes do? What would your enemies advise? Get different perspectives, and it opens up your way of thinking, and then you can approach it in a different light. Because a limiting belief is just a tunnel vision, thought, focused perspective. And oftentimes underneath that is some more meaningful reason why you haven't made progress in it. Maybe you're afraid, maybe you don't want to stand out, maybe you are afraid of the power that you might have, that you might actually be really good at it. And what is that going to do? Where is that going to lead you? I don't know. And those are just reasons why we come up with ways of supporting these limiting beliefs. You're capable of more than you think, so start, make progress, pick something, explore it, enjoy it, breathe curiosity into it, and know that when you are not feeling motivated, it is because you are not motivating yourself. If you really want to unpack your personality type and learn how to use these 4 different characters, your cognitive functions within your personality type that dictate how you make decisions and how you perceive the world, go to inowfeelpositive.com and get the free 5-day INFP personality type tutorial. It will teach you about your personality type in a way that you've probably never thought of or heard before. And it's very INFP friendly because, well, I'm an INFP and I made it for myself from my past version of myself, which is you. Hope to see you there. Goodbye. Peace. Let's see if I can play it. I don't know the song because I don't practice.